not adjust your sets. We are back. Some time away, but a whole lot to discuss. It's Stoppage Time FC, sponsored by the Scen. Stoppage Time FC is the Facebook group. Scen is the family. Subscribe to the YouTube, notifications on, like the video, share, comment. So, we've been away. I think this is the second show of 2022, but we certainly have a whole bunch to discuss. All three of our clubs. It's a lot happening. So without further ado, Joe representing Man City, me represent Arsenal. I'm introducing Zach last with Chelsea because we're going to actually start there. Zach, the floor is yours.
I don't at this point, man. Like I don't even know what to say. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my TED Talk on the British government and the hypocrisy that it is. If you're not, I'll say this: if you're living under a rock and you don't know what's going on, the British government, and more recently, as of today, the European Union has sanctioned my owner, Roman Abramovich, and essentially frozen all of his assets. So they haven't seized it because they can't, because they don't have any actual hard evidence. But that's another rabbit hole that if you want that, you can leave a comment and we can deep dive into this if you really want to. That'd be a fun show. But I digress. Basically, Chelsea is a frozen asset of Roman Abramovich, hindering our ability to operate as a club. The government has given us a special license to continue to play our matches, continue to pay the players, pay the staff, albeit with very large constricting regulations on how we do it, how much we can pay, and it's frustrating because Ronnie and Joe know this because we've talked about this extensively since this whole thing came out. They're punishing a football club, they're punishing fans, they're punishing players and the staff and the hard workers at Chelsea for something that is completely out of their hands. They had nothing to do with causing it, and they 100% can do nothing to fix it. So to punish this entire organization for something like this honestly it's foul, it's egregious, and it's sickening. The level of hypocrisy in the British government is disturbing. They came out with more allegations today on so-called Abramovich and his dealings, three of which, all three of the main ones, were all from his time before the club. Roman Abramovich bought the club in 2003. These new allegations all took place before 2003. So now that means that the Premier League, the British government, when they vetted Roman Abramovich when he bought the club from Bruce Buck in 2003, knew about these things and chose to do nothing then. So how are you going to sit on your pedestal and your high horse and say, oh well, now this is too much? This is relevant now. It wasn't then, because they knew the amount of money that he was going to inject in this club, the amount of money that the government would bring in because of this, the amount of money that the Premier League would bring in because of another relevant team. And it's the same damn thing that they just did with Newcastle. And I swear to God, if I have to listen to another interview from a Newcastle fan talking about how this is justified and their situation isn't anything like ours, I might lose it.
I'm gonna let you continue, but I'm in step with you on that. I just don't see how, until you can prove that he is absolutely tied to this directly, like until you can black and white say Roman Abramovich is connected to this invasion, directly, I think it's punitive to say the least. And I'll let you continue. I know you got smoke, so continue. But I'm kind of in step with you on this one.
It's just, so for those that also don't know about this, one of the main allegations coming against Abramovich is that he is a billionaire from Russia who is in the steel and mining industry, not in the oil industry, in the steel and mining industry. They are claiming that the steel that he produces was in turn bought by someone who used it to make tanks for Russia, who then turned around and used them to invade Ukraine. So that's like me buying a product from Ronnie that Joe made so I can turn around and use it in a crime, and then Ronnie getting blamed because he's the one who made the product. I can't wrap my head around it. Like, how is that your proof? How is that your burden to say that, oh, this is why he's guilty? I get it. He's a Russian, he's a billionaire. He's been with Putin before. He's been photographed. He's friendly. In case you didn't hear about it, it just came out in the news today. A Russian model who called Putin a fascist pig was found dead in a suitcase 1 year later because she miraculously disappeared. So I'm sorry. I'm going to stay on the good side of a man who is known to do bad things to people who speak illy against him. He's no different than Kim Jong-un or Kim Jong-il in North Korea. He is the same type of leader. And again, you look at Newcastle and the Saudis and if you want to broaden the horizons, look at FIFA and UEFA and Qatar.
That's exactly where I was going to go with this. Once you stepping me with me, because that's exactly where I was going to go with the hypocrisy of FIFA and UEFA and on the soccer end of this, not just the political piece, like the amount of terrible things that have gone on in getting revved up for this World Cup in Qatar, and everybody just turning a blind eye to it, and now all of a sudden everyone wants to have this holier than thou and high moral standards and everything like that, while they let thousands of people and workers die while building the stadiums and changing the infrastructure over in Qatar. It's like you said, it's disgusting the way people are behaving right now, and it's very frustrating seeing it unfold in front of us.
I think what it's done is it's really pulled the cover off of the corruption, and just, even if you don't want to hit the corruption, just how much money is in this sport. Like, just the sheer amount of money that Chelsea, I think what's going to end up happening is Chelsea's going to end up getting bought for several $billions. It's rough times for them right now. I will never try to underestimate the rough times that for the staff, the players, etc. But there's going to be somebody else with 10 figures in their account who's going to buy Chelsea.
There's really, they've pretty much narrowed it down, at least from what I've been reading, to 3 or 4 groups. There are 3 or 4 groups who can realistically afford this deal. Now, I'm hearing numbers from $1.5 billion all the way up to $3.7 billion, which Roman evaluated at between 3 and 4. I don't think he's going to get anywhere near that, just due to the current climate of everything. But I also did read an article that one of the main investors that is looking to purchase them is the Saudi media group, who apparently has no ties to the mass genocide and bad things that are happening in Saudi Arabia. Right. They came out and said that they submitted an offer of 2.7 billion, which is more than I thought would be. I figured it'd probably be about a bill and a half, maybe 2 billion when all the dust settles. But I don't know if they're going to win, even if they're the highest bidder. So the one thing that is interesting about this situation is because Roman's assets are frozen and not seized, he still technically owns the club. So he's still eligible to be the deciding factor on who gets the franchise, like who can take this, and he's the one who will decide who gets the future of the club. Now, the British government would like him to step away completely and just hand it over. He's already said he doesn't want any money. He's already forgiven the $1.5 billion loan that he gave Chelsea. He doesn't want any of that back. He has said that any net profit that he got from this would go to the refugees and the people suffering from the war in Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that probably is what is saving him from the British government overstepping even more. I think the British government wants the American-led group, which has, I can't think of the Swiss's name, Hans Bjorg, I don't know what his name is. He's like an 89-year-old Swiss billionaire. He's part of the money, but he's already said he wouldn't be a main player in that. The actual face of that group is Todd Bowley, and a lot of you should recognize that name. He's the one who owns the Los Angeles Dodgers. So, and he is, watching some of his interviews, the man is brilliant. And I really underestimated him. So Ty, if you get a chance to watch this, hats off to you and Todd Bowley and the Dodgers, because that man is a genius. And I was talking to Joe about this. I liked two names. Bowley is the newest name that I like. The other name is Nick Candy. Now, Nick Candy is a British billionaire who got his money in luxury real estate right there in London and the surrounding area. Now, the problem with Candy is he doesn't have enough money to do it himself, so he's got to find a group to tack in on. But Candy has been a Chelsea fan since he was 4. He's held season tickets since he was 4, and his dad actually was on trial numerous times at Chelsea. So he's a Chelsea Blue through and through. So I would really like to see him jump in on one of these bids and sit on the board, because like Bruce Buck did, not Bruce Buck. I cannot think of the previous owner of Chelsea for the life of me. Anyway, the previous owner, he's the one who sold the ground to Chelsea's. A lot of people don't know this, and I am included in this. The ground that Stamford Bridge is built on is owned by the Chelsea Pitch Owners Association. So these are just regular fans who own the grounds to Chelsea. If Chelsea decides they want to move away or build a stadium somewhere else in London, they forfeit the right to use the name Chelsea Football Club. So that was the hold on the ground that Chelsea is built on. I'm a Chelsea pitch owner. You pay a fee to own part of Stamford Bridge land, but Nick Candy is very big into that. He loves that idea. He said that he wants someone to represent the fans on the board, which is music to my ears, because that's not something you see very often. Is seeing that level of commitment to the people that support it, and that's relieving to hear. But I really don't know where it's going to go. I would not be surprised to see Todd Bowley end up being the owner of Chelsea. I know he tried to buy Tottenham before the Levies got him. He tried to buy Man United before the Glazers bought it, and he submitted a bid to Roman 3 or 4 years ago to buy Chelsea, and Roman was not selling at that time. So we'll see where it goes. It's going to be very interesting. The deadline is actually today. So the Rain Group, or the Rain Bank in New York, is the one who's running the show as far as bids. The day for final bids was today. So we'll see where it goes from here.
It's going to be interesting. I think no matter who ends up with Chelsea, this is kind of been my point is, you don't amass billions of dollars selling Girl Scout cookies.
Mm-hmm.
You don't amass billions of dollars selling Dunkin' Donuts, selling Krispy Kreme fundraising. So whoever ends up with it is going to have something. And this is to Joe's point and Zach's point and made this for as long as I've known them is, what is FIFA, UEFA, the Premier League, what are you willing to look away at? What are you willing to not?
So that goes for all the owners of all these clubs, because they are all billionaires. None of them are all crystal clean. So where like we said before, like this opens up a whole new can of worms and pulls back the veil behind what's going on. And where are you going to draw the line? Because if we're going to go after Roman like this, you can't just stop there. You got to look at everybody else if we're going to be fair, equal, and have some equality and equity around here. You can't just look at one person. If you're gonna do this, then you have to look at all the other guys, and I guarantee you there's skeletons in their closet too.
I did a little deep dive once this whole thing happened, because I had time, and the amount of ownership of clubs in the top 2 levels in England by shady people is absurd. And Joe knows this all too well, because before Sheikh Mansour, there was a year where they had an owner who was probably one of the most corrupt that we've seen, as far as like fraudulently like claiming money and like it's and that's the reason he lost the club a year late. I think it was a year after he bought the club. Cardiff City is one of them. Birmingham City is one of them. Leicester City is not even immune to that. And I know that Leicester is, I should not speak ill of the dead, as they say, but the Leicester's former owner, who tragically died in a helicopter crash before his son took over, he didn't make his money purely the clean variety. And we all know the Glazers. Let's not even start on the Glazers. You can't own banks in the United States or hedge funds or investment firms without being the shadiest of shady.
It's impossible.
I just found out that banks are taking the money that we give them and buying life insurance to turn around and draw premiums and interest off of these life insurance plans and I'm like, so you're literally like just taking my money, investing it for your own, just so when I want it, you can give it back to me, but you're making money off of my money.
Yeah, that's why I think it's gonna, in football as an institution, not willing to go that far, because you just are simply draining the money out of the sport. If you go to the whole, we're going to make sure that everybody's on the up and up who owns football. If you say everybody who owns football has got to be on the up and up, nobody can own it. Just the money just simply dries out the sport. So we're going to see what's going on with Chelsea, but it's an interesting saga. And speaking of interesting saga, and he blames us for this,
Both of
I don't
y'all.
know why this is our fault. It's
Both
not.
of y'all.
But when we last taped this show, which was I think the second or third week of January, so this has been about 2 months. Manchester City had a 12-point lead 2 months ago. As we are taping this podcast, that lead is down to 4. It's down to
Liverpool.
Manchester City has a 4-point lead with 10 matches to play. Man City has 9 matches to play. Liverpool has 10. It's a 4-point lead. They 2 clubs meet April 9th, which I think is going to be, I don't know what ratings records are for a regular season Premier League match, but this could break whatever that mark is. Joe, what has happened? Because I don't feel like City are like struggling. Has Liverpool just gotten they're just that hot all of a sudden? What has happened?
Well, during the that Christmas time run where we didn't lose any games, we were putting up win after win after win. Liverpool and Chelsea kind of went through their spell where they were dropping points here and there. And at the time that we filmed that show, I told y'all that we're not going to continue playing that way and at that level for the next 3 months. And that's exactly what's happened. So it's been our turn to go through some unlucky spells in those games that are just frustrating, that you should win 3 or 4-0 and end up drawing or having an unlucky bounce that puts you out. You lose a match, you drop 3 points instead of just 1. The most recent game, we just dropped points to Crystal Palace and we only got 1 point on Monday. There have been media outlets praising Patrick Vieira and Crystal Palace for their strong performance in holding City to a point. That's bullcrap, because City had the ball for almost 80% of the game. We had all the chances. We hit the post 3 times. We had 2 wide open nets that Bernardo Silva shockingly missed. He's been in great form and he missed one. Laporte had a wide open net he missed. So easily, it wasn't anything Crystal Palace was doing. We just didn't perform and didn't finish. We weren't clinical enough. Mm-hmm. So Pep was talking about in his press conferences where he's not disappointed in how they played. Obviously, we didn't get the result we wanted to, but they played the way he wants them to play. They pressed, they kept the ball, they created chances. So it's not like Man City are playing poorly. They're just not getting full points. And it's not like we've dropped a lot. We've only dropped a few games. Mm-hmm. And Liverpool just hasn't.
I don't think you've lost any.
So
you just dropped. You just haven't won.
Yeah, exactly. And Liverpool just haven't lost in the Premier League in 9 matches. So it's just they're going through a spell right now where they're hitting their stride. They're winning, and we have dropped a few points here and there to narrow the gap a bit. So I'm gonna need, Ronnie, all your Arsenal support and good vibes and positivity tomorrow when y'all match up with Liverpool, which is going to be a very, very big game in this title race. So Arsenal, you got a new fan. Yes, it's huge for Arsenal too. So this isn't like they're just trying to help me out. But you do have a big fan in the blue side of the Mavor household over here for about 2 hours tomorrow, because we could definitely use a little boost. And that, like you said, that Liverpool City game, it's at the Etihad. That is going to have a UEFA Champions League cup tie final type vibe from the fans, from the players. That is going to be a massive, massive game. So make sure y'all tune into that one.
Yeah, if this lead is 4, if it's anything in the range of 1, 2, 3, or 4 points, that match becomes that's match of the year candidate. If that lead is still what it is on April 9th.
It's wild though. Even Chelsea, who sit in a distant third, have recovered points now, because if we win our match in hand, well, I think we'll only be 8 points off, eight or 9 points off, which we were almost 20 points off, 2 months ago. And the gap between third and fourth right now is massive, because Arsenal has like 3 matches in hand, I think. They've played 25 and everybody else has played 28 or 29. So even if Arsenal win all 3 of their matches that they have in hand, I think they'll still be like 6 points off of third.
We're gonna have to. We still have the return. We play the return fixture with Liverpool. We still have to go to Stamford Bridge. We host City. No, we don't host City. We host Man United. We're gonna have to find points out of at least one of those. We can't go 0 for 3 like we did the first half of the year again. But to your point, Joe, City isn't playing. I think this is just kind of the level that Liverpool and City are at right now. Whereas Liverpool and City can run off 12 in a row. They run off 13 out of 15. And every draw now feels like this is a loss.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think they're playing, but they're not. They're like, oh man, City's really playing. They're not playing bad.
There's just hasn't really dropped. Like I said,
there's just those 2 teams. There's just no margin for error with those 2 teams. There really just isn't any margin for error. So
yeah, I mean, Chelsea, Arsenal, and Liverpool in their last 5 are all a perfect 15 points.
Yeah.
Chelsea haven't lost in 11 matches.
Yeah, exactly. And we drew, and then a couple matches ago, we lost one. That one was the big one. I can't remember which game that was off the top of my head. I don't have it up, but everybody in second, third, and fourth have not lost in a while in the Premier League. So it's just a situation where we had a slight dip in results, not like necessarily performance, just in getting with Liverpool and City, you're taking everybody's best shot. Like you have to be up every match, because that is the biggest match on there for a lot of people. That's like their Super Bowl at times. So we have a guest joining us here momentarily.
There he is.
Which is good time. Haven't seen him in a while. There he is.
We haven't seen him in a while. Germaldo. Yeah, it's
in the building.
It's Germaldo's in the building, but it's what also shows you when Zach and Joe, who watched this league for a while, I could watch this league for a while, shows you. It's just so much. It's the combination of City and Liverpool playing the level they play at. And the middle of the Premier League is so much more difficult than it was 10, 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like 10, 15 years ago, a team like Crystal Palace, you'll wipe. That's a W. That's 3 points.
And here's the crazy. Crystal Palace is the only team, I think, this year that did not lose points against City.
Right.
Like
10 years ago, City wiped
Tottenham too. That's the thing. Tottenham and Crystal Palace have been our bugaboos. Those are the two of the London clubs. So
it's not only Liverpool versus City. It's then you gotta hold your form against the rest of the league, which in the rest of the league is much better than what it was. So it's going to be like 6 weeks with those 2 teams.
I remember when I first started getting into the Premier League, I remember Everton used to be like a staple at like 5th, 6th. Like they were there. They were knocking on the door. And now they're fighting relegation. Like they're knocking on that door like, "Hey Burnley, what's up, brother? Why don't we hang out for a little bit?"
Yeah. Those
are the type of clubs around them now.
Yeah.
They are perilously to getting.
And you're seeing teams like Crystal Palace who are now becoming actual threats.
Crystal Palaces, Southampton, West Ham, Aston Villa, those squads are so much better than what they were in the early years that it's a much more difficult league to win. It's way more difficult to
we caught some flack about talking about the Premier League a lot, and a lot of Barcelona, Real Madrid fans want to talk about the La Liga being like the division in the league to watch and the best league and everything. But the middle of the pack is why the Premier League is what it is, because you don't have those kind of clubs fighting with Atletico and Barcelona and Real Madrid and Bayern. There aren't mid-table teams that are actually going to give them a run for their money week in, week out. Hardly ever you see that kind of stuff happen.
I might give La Liga the benefit of the doubt more so than the other two leagues.
Oh, for sure.
Because I just posted this the other day. You look at the gap between the Bundesliga and the Ligue 1.
Not even close.
Yeah, that's
per usual.
We're back to the Farmers League. Like Paris has I think almost an 18-point lead over second. And other than Dortmund, those two have a lead over third of like 10, 12 points. Like, get out of here, man.
Right. Like PSG is probably going to clinch the title in the next 2 weeks. They're going to clinch the title by April 1st.
That's all they got to look forward to right now. That's all they got to look forward to. That's all that they got to celebrate about.
Can we please talk about something that's going to make me smile, though?
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
I know it's going to make Joe smile.
I don't know what you're talking about now.
How about United? How about United?
Oh, God.
Bye-bye. Take a seat in the Champions League too, my friends.
You take
about Manchester United?
Yeah, they lost today, so they are out.
Eliminated today.
They are out of the Champions League now too. So just like Paris,
eliminated at home.
At home. That never used to happen.
This is where when we talked about
Atletico Madrid.
We talked about this at the beginning. This is why I will never. Manchester United is why I will never have shade for Manchester City, because for all the talk about they spend this, they spend that, Manchester City spends loads of money on stuff that makes sense.
That show results. There are tangible results for the amount of money that we have spent.
You can spend $300 million on stuff that makes sense. Manchester United has just a bunch of stuff that just doesn't match. Jerry, you remember the movie Friday where Chris Tucker said ham, no burger?
Hey, I was just about to say it. Hey, I
no jelly.
Walking around work with that. We ain't never got two things that match around here: ham, no burger, employees, no customers, no employees,
peanut butter, no jelly. That's Manchester United. They have 11 individuals, and none of it makes sense.
Well, didn't we talk about this when this all went down at the beginning of the season? We were at the beginning. It's just a bunch of stuff that it doesn't fit. You're just putting pretty much individuals together and just asking them to buy into a collective like that just happens every day. We see it in every sport. You can't just bring a bunch of individuals together. Has to be some type of continuity there. Something they're all willing to work for and fight for at the same time, and together.
With no real leader, either at manager or in the dress and then in the locker room.
They bought Ronaldo as if that was the finishing piece.
That I just saw something. This is going to be United's fifth straight year without a trophy at all. And this will be the first year. Now, this is the shit that's going to blow your mind. This will be the first year since 2009, 2010 that Cristiano Ronaldo will not win a single trophy.
Damn.
You said this has been played one more time.
Yeah. The 2009-2010 season, Cristiano Ronaldo did not win a trophy. That was the last time since 2009-2010 that he will not win a trophy, because now that Man United have been eliminated from the Champions League.
He's won team silverware for 11, 12 years in a row. Up until now.
It's wild. Like they are, we try to keep, because we don't like to dumb things down too much. But they are. It's like the Lakers in basketball. they are a miserable team to watch.
They're dysfunctional.
It's dysfunctional. It doesn't make sense. And you talk about a rebuild. You talk about a tear down this summer. I hope they don't do it because I want them to be bad as long as possible. But they need a complete tear down. Tear down. There's about 8 guys in that team that need to go.
8 out of the starting 11.
Let me ask y'all a question.
They need to immediately.
If Ronaldo is in this spot, and this is the first year, like you said, since 09 and 10 that he hasn't won a trophy of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
Does he look at this situation and say, I'm Michael Jackson and y'all are the Jacksons. Y'all need to fix this? Or does he say, you know what? It's not you, it's me. And does he ask to get out of there?
I would not be surprised at all. Ronaldo has already said that he doesn't have very many seasons left. Now, he used the term 5 or 6, which is absurd considering his age already. But we've seen Zlatan does it too. So let's say he does have 5 or 6 more seasons left. He can't spend 2 or 3 of those at a United team that are rebuilding. So the thing for him is, does he cut ties now and find somewhere where he'll have more success, or does he try to hope? I don't think he goes anywhere this window. As much as I think that the rumors will swirl, I don't think anyone. I don't know where he fits, to be honest.
See,
there's 2 things on that. One, he's already said he's not at Man United to fight for 4th place. He's there to win trophies, and they ain't winning trophies anytime soon. He's not happy winning a Carabao Cup. That's not going to satisfy. And 2, he's making $450,000 or pounds or whatever it is a week. Who else is going to pay that? It certainly ain't going to be City. It ain't. I mean, PSG maybe that's the only option.
PSG.
If Neymar leaves,
PSG the last stop.
That's the only other option for him.
That's the last stop. If you make that type of money as an aging star, that is the only place you can go in Europe. So unless you're saying, I'll go to Saudi Arabia,
or China, or something like that, one of those clubs. If
one of the clubs in the MLS is willing to put me on layaway,
not on
so
layaway.
Real talk though, that's a very real destination for him. Not for the simple. He will not make the amount of money that he makes weekly there, but he will do very well for himself, and they've shown that the money is there to pay the players. The amount of fees that are getting for transfers in the MLS is getting a bit absurd, considering the level of competition comparatively. So it's a very real destination for him. I would not be surprised in 2 or 3 years to see him say, hey, it's time to take that long-awaited vacation to the United States and ride off into the sunset and make $1 billion with his commercials and endorsements,
advertising and everything.
I mean, the man's got more money than he'll ever need. So yeah. I don't at that point, it'll be one of those things where he kind of rides off. The thing for United with me, and the only reason that this is relevant to me is because I watched the match today, the Atletico Madrid match. 2 things that stood out to me. When Koke got subbed off for Atletico, he's their captain. He had a leg injury, and he sprinted all the way back to Oblak, their goalkeeper, and placed the captain's armband around Oblak's arm.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, I'll caveat this with, now time was winding down in the match, and they were short on time, but Harry Maguire got subbed off for, I think Juan Mata came on.
Yeah.
And as he was going off the pitch, he literally took the captain's armband off and threw it at Rafael Varane, who isn't even their vice captain, I don't think, because I think it goes to Ronaldo. So like it's, to me, yeah, that's small. That's a small detail to pay attention to. But I knew right then that if you can't take care enough to see that through, you're not coming back. And
you know, Zach, you're right. It's a small detail, but it shows you what they are now.
Mm-hmm.
It's what they are. Overpaid, overrated, and Harry Maguire is the symbol of everything that they are. Overpaid, overrated, don't fit. He's all of that in one.
And ordinarily, Zach, I would agree. Ordinarily, I would agree with you that it's a small thing, but considering the amount of talk that has come out of that locker room about people being split between Harry Maguire and Ronaldo, and is there drama between them? Is there a divide? In my book, if that stuff wasn't going on, then yes, small thing, probably not that big of a deal. But the context of what's going on with United right now, I think it's a very big deal, and it's very telling that those whispers and everything that people were saying, oh, that's just rumors and media driven speculation. No, there's more going on behind the scenes that even the media is reporting, and that small thing to me is a window into what's actually going on.
I don't care if Romelu Lukaku never scores another goal for Chelsea. Harry Maguire will still be the worst signing in Premier League history.
He's $80 million.
Awful.
And they gave you the captaincy off the first day.
Off the rip.
Gave it to him the first. And he had done nothing. And he had done nothing to earn that price tag, and he certainly had done nothing to earn the captaincy.
Nope. So
Leicester was like, cool, $80 million?
Yep.
We'll wrap him up in a nice bow, and you will make sure he gets there safely.
No questions asked.
So, fellas, I do want to ask one question, because I do see the news with the situation with Chelsea. Zach, I really wanted to get, and I mean everybody's thoughts on that, because just reading it from the business side of it, my jaw dropped. I was like, "What is this? What is this? Like, what is your honest your honest opinion on that whole situation?"
So we actually led off the show with this. So you'll have to run it back and get a little bit more of my thoughts. I don't want to take up too much time on this, but to me, it's the simplest case of punishing a team for something it had nothing to do with and it cannot fix. So you're taking it out on innocent people who can do nothing to fix it to begin with. It's a gross overreach. It's a disturbing. It's awful, and it really makes my blood boil. And I kind of said it at the beginning of the show. If you want me to deep dive into this and really get into it, I could do this for hours. This could be a mini series, because ever since this came out, I've been doing some major homework on this, and it's gross. The amount of hypocrisy coming from not only the Premier League but the British.
And something we didn't necessarily hit on when we were talking about it earlier was all of the sponsors of Chelsea that are dropping like flies too. Like, they're all removing their affiliation with Chelsea as well, and it seems like they are also just trying to get on the good publicity stunt tour and say, well, we're supporting everything that is going on in Ukraine, and we're not going to associate ourselves with a club that doesn't really have anything to do with what's going on with the war. So the main sponsor, which was the cell company, that's the 3 onion on the chest. And the other like people that have their advertisements across Stamford Bridge on their airplanes and stuff are all jumping ship too. And it just seems like it's like Zach says, kind of punishing everybody when they had nothing to do with it.
I want to say something to this. And I know here goes Germ being that here goes the rebel. Here it goes. I'm gonna put my hands up because I just want everybody to understand I'm not trying to be insensitive. But even if that's the case, you're in so many words, and we're in a situation where we're telling somebody we're gonna punish them for being in a position to make money, to capitalize off of something that somebody else and other people already capitalize off of. I don't understand how that works. I just don't understand the hypocrisy in that situation. Because people capitalize off of war anyway, right? We in fact, they say they capitalize off of war more than anything, which is why if you go back in history and we start studying the world wars and how all of this stuff has happened, there's always been somebody who's capitalized off of it.
War is the number one profitability maker in the world. And it's sparked more.
In the world, Craig. In the world.
It sparked more.
It just shows you. My point, Jeremy, has always been, it just shows you, as much as I love the sport, I am not blind to the fact that it is run by people who have pockets deeper than you could ever imagine. And to get pockets that are deeper than you've ever imagined, as I said, you got to put your hands in. You will not get that money selling Girl Scout cookies and fun and Krispy Kreme fundraisers.
Nope.
And everybody involved in the sport knows that. UEFA, FIFA, the Premier League, Bundesliga, you pick it. They all know it. So that's why, to me, as tough as this is on Chelsea in this moment, somebody with 10 figures is going to buy them. It's simple. And that person got his 10 figures in some shady ways too. So we can do this whole song and dance with Chelsea, Newcastle. You pick. We could do this as many times as you want to do it, but you're not going to do it, because if you do it, you will drain the money all out of the sport. And nobody wants that.
Everybody is doing the same stuff. The only difference is this person hasn't gotten caught. This person hasn't gotten this brought into the light. At the end of the day, all of this, like Zach, when I read this stuff, dude, you don't understand. Like, you know how you reading something? Like, I'm reading this and I'm just like, what? This makes no sense. Like, what are we? But this is what the reality of our society, our world, is that there is always somebody trying to make somebody into the bad guy.
Yeah,
somebody has to be the bad guy.
Yes. Oh, this just reminded me. Now, mind you, they're going after Roman Abramovich, right? The British government. Meanwhile, they're still funneling in millions of gallons or liters, whatever you want to call it, whatever metric system you want to use, of Russian oil for their own fuel every single day. So don't sit here on your goddamn pedestal talking about how, we have to get ahead of this. We have to take a stand against these Russian oligarchs, this dirty money. Motherfucker, look in the mirror. Look at what you're doing. Like, the amount of hypocrisy is it's mind-blowing to me. I said, you want to carve out some time? We can sit down and talk about this for days. It would be, I think when this all shakes out and Chelsea gets its new owner, it's going to make a hell of a if somebody really wants to do, and I'm sure it's in the works.
It would be a beautiful documentary.
If you are at Netflix or Amazon Prime or Hulu, this could be a hell of a documentary.
Ronnie, at this stage in life, it has to be a documentary.
Somebody's
Like, we got. I need more people. I need more people.
Yeah, it becomes a hell of a story, but
in the words of the great Paul Revere,
the
British are coming. The British are coming.
This motherfucker.
When we introduced this, when we started Stoppage Time FC, we told you all it's a beautiful sport. It's a great sport. But we also said it is as corrupt as anything you will see. So we told you this
very early on. We all said that in those first couple shows for sure.
And we're talking about one league right now. We're talking about one team right now. Now, let's not talk about the fact that we just talked about a Liga MX squad who is now getting sold and banned because their own fans ran onto the field and started fucking murdering people.
Rioting.
Like,
mid-game. That was wild.
This sport is so different. It's so different.
I can't, man. I don't. My blood pressure is just raising just as I talk about it, and just it's so frustrating. Like, and I get it. Like, you have to keep that image. Like, and I know that's why the British government is doing what they're doing. But damn, if you don't see the level of hypocrisy, this is the pot calling the kettle black in every sense of the imagination.
Yeah.
Bang on.
So, yeah, Zach, I'm sure, Zach can send Jerm a couple of links, couple things to look at, but it's a beautiful game. It's called a beautiful game for a reason, but it has a very ugly side to it.
I'm in the process
of never pretty. That's what people got to understand. Business is never pretty, bro.
I don't know if any of you would know where to look, but for the past day and a half, I've been scouring the internet. I may have to go to more shady avenues to find this information, but I've been trying to pull tax documentation on Premier League clubs and what's being reported to the government and the amount of money that the government's making off of these teams, and I'm trying to do a deep dive into that to see just how far we can start exposing, like, especially like members of parliament, because some of these dudes are talking, and I didn't know this. Members of parliament can claim some sort of privilege, and maybe our resident Brit Joe Hicks can speak on this, but members of parliament have like this ability to speak freely and not be held accountable for anything that they say. And it's like parliamentary privilege or something like that, because they're running off at the mouth and they're foaming, just chomping at the bit. And I'm like, you're going to get buried by somebody. You keep talking and you're going to end up like that model that I was talking about earlier that was talking trash to Putin.
Yeah. So
when the rapper got the gun.
It's not fun. We're going to try to get our shows a little bit more frequently, especially now because we about to hit the Champions League quarterfinals. We should know the draw for that by the weekend.
The draw's on Friday, so next week we'll have a preview show for what's going on in the Champions League and what the matchups are going to be.
As we talked about the Premier League race, which has gotten tighter, and we could have hopefully new Chelsea owners by next week. So this could be a whole that's going to happen in the next week. So make sure you're tuned in, subscribe to the YouTube, like it, notifications on, join the Facebook group, Stoppage Time FC. Joe, Zach, Germaldo, Ron, Stoppage Time FC, signing out.